Om Gyanatimidandasya Nilanjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Pushmaya Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupagada Maya Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagra Jatam Sahagana Ragana Tanvitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Bodhidana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vijangscha He Krishna Koruna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Banchakopa Chubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavane Vyo Vaishnave Vyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naranam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudidayet Nasta Preshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Shevaya Bhagavad Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. So today is Thursday, March 12th, 2026. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, The Creative Impetus, Chapter 2, The Activities of Maharaj Agnidra. Today's text number 8. Vana Vimal Bhagavata Shatapatra Patrao Shantava Punkaruchirabati Tigmadantao Kashmayu Yunkshashi Vane Vicharanna Vidmaha Shemaya no Jadadiyam Tava Vikramostu Bana Vima Bhagavata Shatapatra Patrao Shantava Punkaruchiravati Tigmadantao Kashmaya Yunkshashi Vane Vicharanna Vidma Shemaya no Jadadiyam Tava Vikramostu Mana Vimal Bhagavata Shatapatra Patrao Shantava Punkaruchiravati Tigmadantao Kasmaya Yunkshashi Vane Vicharanna Vidmaha Shemaya no Jaladiyam Tava Vikramostu
Bana Vimo Bhagavata Shatapatra Patro Shanta Vapunka Ruchirava Titigma Danto Kasmaya Yukshashi Vane Vicharanna Vidma
Kasmaya Yunkshashi Vane Vicharanna Vidma
Shemaya no Jadadiyam Tavavikramastu.
Shemaya no Jadadiyam Tavavikramostu.
Mana Vimo Bhagavata Shatapatra Patro.
Mana Bhimao Bhagavata Shatapatra Patrao. Shanta Babunka Ruchiravati Jigmadantao. Koshmai Yuyungsha Sivane Vicharanna Vidmaha.
Shemaya no Jadadiyam Tavavikramostu.
Shemaya no Jadadiyam Tavavikramostu. Bana Bhimao Bhagavata Shatapatra Patrao. Jantava Bhunka Ruchiravati Tigmadantao. Kasmaya Yungsha Sivane Vicharanna Vidmaha. Shemaya no Jadadiyam Tavavikramostu. The synonyms: Banao, two arrows; Imao, these; Bhagavataha, of you the most powerful; Shatapatra Patrao, having feathers like the petals of a lotus flower; Shantao, peaceful; Apunka, without a shaft; Ruchirao, very beautiful; Atitigmadantao, having a very sharp point; Kasmai, whom? Yuyungshashi, you want to pierce; Vane, in the forest; Vicharan, loitering; Vidmaha, we cannot understand; Shemaya, for welfare; Na, of us; Jadadiyam, who are dull-headed; Tava, your; Vikramaha, prowess; Astu, maybe. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. It's Thursday, that fly has come again. Then Agnidra observed the glancing eyes of Purvachiti and said, my dear friend, you have two very powerful arrows, namely your glancing eyes. Those arrows have feathers like the petals of a lotus flower. Although they have no shafts, they are very beautiful and they have very sharp, piercing points. They appear very peaceful, and thus it seems that they will not be shot at anyone. You must be loitering in this forest to shoot those arrows at someone, but I cannot understand whom. My intelligence is dull, and I cannot combat you. Indeed, no one can equal you in prowess, and therefore I pray that your prowess will be for my good fortune. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Agnidra thus began appreciating Purvachiti's powerful glance upon him. He compared her glancing eyes to very sharp arrows. Although her eyes were as beautiful as lotuses, they were simultaneously like shaftless arrows, and Agnidra was therefore afraid of them. Reminds me of the song, what a shot you would be if you could shoot at me with those angry eyes. But in this case, the eyes weren't angry, but they're nonetheless piercing like arrows.
Who was the artist of the song?
Lagans and Messina. He hoped that her glances upon him would be favorable, because he was already captivated. And the more captivated he became, the more impossible it would be for him to remain without her. Agnidra therefore prayed to Purvachiti that her glances at him would be auspicious, not futile. In other words, he prayed that she would become his wife. Banau imal bhagavata shatapatra patrao shantava punka ruchiravati tigmadam tau kashmayu yunkshasi vani vicharan navidmaha semaya no jadadiyam tavavikramostu. Thus Agnidra observed the glancing eyes of Purvachiti and said, "Oh, my dear friend, you have two very powerful arrows, namely your glancing eyes. Those arrows have feathers like the petals of a lotus flower. Although they have no shafts, they are very beautiful and they have very sharp, piercing points. They appear very peaceful, and thus it seems that they will not be shot at anyone. You must be lording in this forest to shoot those arrows at someone, but I cannot understand whom. My intelligence is dull, and I cannot combat you. Indeed, no one can equal you in prowess, and therefore I pray that your prowess will be for my good fortune." Mukum karoti bachalam, angam lagayate girim, ajadkripa tamaham bande, sigurum adidatarinam. So in reading this section, if you zoom out a little bit and look at the whole section, how Maharaj Agnidra is becoming bewildered by seeing Purvachiti. It's almost a little comical, as was mentioned yesterday's class. How he starts like talking nonsense and saying all these different things because he's totally bewildered by the beauty of Purvachiti. Now we have to understand that the beauty of a heavenly damsel like Purvachiti is 8,400,000 times more beautiful than any woman we ever see in this world. And so when someone, either men or demigods, they see a beauty like Purvachiti, it's like, their eyes are bugging out, the sweat's dripping from their brow, their voice is choked up, and these are not symptoms of ecstasy. These are symptoms of desire. I see this object of the senses that is so incredibly beautiful that I want to enjoy it. And this sometimes happens. It even happened to Lord Shiva, who is completely sense-controlled and not affected by anything. When Lord Shiva, after the pastime of the demigods and the demons churning the ocean of milk, and he knew about the appearance of Mohini Murti, that incredibly, amazingly potent and attractive female form of the Lord. And he told the Lord that, I want to see that form. And so the Lord was saying to him, well, are you sure? You want to see that? Oh, yes, my Lord, your glories are unlimited, and your beauty in the form of a woman must be unparalleled. So please, can you let me see that form? And Krishna's like, okay, you asked for it. So suddenly, Lord Shiva sees this incredibly beautiful woman, kind of scantily dressed, just covered by a cloth, and playing with a bouncing ball. And the ball was not the only thing that was bouncing, apparently. And Lord Shiva, he is Dhira. He is undisturbed. He is sober to the max. Being what? Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, the greatest of all the Vaishnavas, totally controlled. He saw her and he was like, ding, wow. And then suddenly a breeze came up and blew her cloth out of her body. Just happened to be that, I was in the right place, and it must have been the right time. There was a song, I was in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. Well, this was the right time for Lord Shiva. And seeing this, he was like, man. So even though this is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what did Lord Shiva do? He immediately went up to her and he grabbed her by the hair. I mean, this is like, completely violating all politeness and morality. He grabbed her by the hair to enjoy her. This is for me. But she slipped out of his grasp and she smiled and batted her eyes. And then she took off. So he took off after her. And she's going everywhere throughout the universe. And he's chasing her without any regard or any second thought about anything. There's that song by The Who, I want it, I want it, I want it. And the line comes, you can't have it. Or there's another song, what ain't getting, ain't got none. So he wanted to enjoy Mohini, and he lost all good sense. He grabbed her by the hair, chasing her all over the place. Meanwhile, she's taking this path. She's going past the planets of Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, all these planets with these great sages. Tapaloka, Tapa means austerities. And so in Tapaloka, they're very refined sages, and they perform austerities and meditation. So she's leading him on a path past these sages, and they're like, hey, check out that Mohini Murti. Hey, isn't that Lord Shiva chasing her? What's that big bulge in his leopard skin there? This leopard skin covering. He's like, and they're like, wow, that's Lord Shiva doing that, chasing the beautiful form? And they couldn't believe it. They were astounded because everyone knows it's Lord Shiva. It's like, he's not even an ordinary living entity. He's not Vishnu Tattva, but he's not Jiva Tattva. He's Shiva Tattva, which is somewhere between the two. So how is it that he's chasing? What is it even possible? And so Lord Shiva was given a good lesson by getting embarrassed by getting exposed, so to speak, in front of the whole universe. And then finally he just lost it, and he passed semen. And wherever that semen fell in different places, it became like gold mines and things like that.
Scorpions.
No. Gold mines, mineral deposits, very valuable things. So how is it that such a great personality as Lord Shiva can become bewildered? Well, that's because the potency of the Lord is greater than anyone else's potency. Similarly, Lord Brahma, he tried to exhibit his yogic power in such a way that he was trying to show himself superior to Lord Krishna, who was having lunch with his cowherd boyfriends. And he stole the calves and the cows and hid them away in the cave, thinking, aha, I'll show him who is this Krishna. Even though he's supposed to know, he does know, but he became temporarily bewildered. That's called Brahma Vimohan Leela. Vimohan means really totally bewildered. Mohan, it means illusion or bewilderment. And Vimohan means like super bewildered. So that happened but then Krishna just made all those calves, cowherd boys just appear again in forms that were on his own expansions. And when Brahma turned back to look at it, hey, wait a minute. I stole those calves and boys, and now they're still there. And he checked the cave where he had hidden them. No, they're still there asleep under my mystic potency. But then who are these boys and calves? And as he was contemplating this and looking at them, suddenly they all started dancing and turned into these four-armed Vishnu forms right in front of his eyes. And he was, what is this? This is impossible. There's nothing like this. This doesn't exist. This is not real. This is. And then he realized, I thought I was going to play a trick on Krishna, but he's completely smoked me. And he's exhibited greater potency than mine, and thus he's shown that he is far superior to me. And then he felt like a dummy for doing that. I was playing with fire. I was trying to mess with Krishna. I shouldn't have done that. And then he began to offer his prayers to the Lord. And that chapter, the 10th chapter, 10th canto, chapter 14, the prayers of Lord Brahma, which that chapter was not translated in that form by Srila Prabhupada. It's there in the Krishna book, and there are other places like in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavad Gita where Prabhupada quotes verses from that 14th chapter. And so we have some translations of those verses, although in Srila Prabhupada's progressive translation of Bhagavatam, he only got up to 10th canto, chapter 13, the kidnapping, and then Lord Brahma being exposed. So in the next chapter, 14, that's a very important chapter in the Bhagavatam, one of the most significant. And there are so many amazing, wonderful, and very deep verses there. And one of them, text number 58 in that chapter, we're going to quote here. Lord Brahma states, Samasrita murarehe bhavam buddhe vatsa padam param padam 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 yavi padam natesham. For those who accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation, and who is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoofprint. Their goal is Parampadam, Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. Padam padam yavi padam natesham. Natesham means that this world, which is the place of danger at every step, natesham is not meant for those who have samashrita ye padapallava plavam. Ashrita means taken shelter. Samashrita ye, those persons who have taken shelter. Padapallava plavam, at the lotus feet of the Lord, which are like a boat by which one can cross over the ocean of material existence. And so they are interested only in Parampadam, Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, where there are no material miseries. And this world, which is Padam Padam Yavi Padam, a place where there is so much danger, Vipadam, at every step. Pada means foot or step. Just like the Lord is known sometimes as Trivikrama, which means 3 steps. Because when he was having his pastime with Bali Maharaj, he asked for 3 paces of land, Lord Vamanadev. And so Bali was like, well, okay, I can give you a whole planet if you like. I mean, if you're going to come to me, I'm Lord and Master of the universe currently. If you're going to ask me for some charity, you could do a little better than 3 paces of land. That's not asking for much. So when the opportunity comes, like Chanakya Pandit says, one should not be shy when it comes to doing business and taking prasadam. So this is your opportunity. So don't be too shy. Don't be too shy in taking prasadam, okay? You got that? So, but then Lord Vamadev said, for one whose senses are uncontrolled, first of all, one should be satisfied with whatever he's getting by his own destiny. And for one whose senses are uncontrolled, even possessing the whole universe, and here he's talking to Bali Maharaj, who does possess the whole universe. So even if one possesses the whole universe, if his senses are uncontrolled, then he will not be satisfied. Bali's like, wow, this Brahmin boy is smart. he's brilliant to understand, to make this point, because I'm the Lord of the universe and I own everything. I know what he's talking about. So one whose senses are uncontrolled will never be satisfied, no matter what he gets. So if you're trying to get sense gratification, then know it for certain that your senses will never be satisfied by trying to indulge them or avail themselves of the objects of sense gratification. No matter how much, they'll never be satisfied. And Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks very clearly that one should be satisfied by enjoying the nectar of the self and its relationship with Krishna within. That is the real satisfaction, and not any external thing. So he speaks very extensively about sannyas, or renunciation. So that renunciation means that one is not interested in sense gratification. But like is spoken in this verse by Lord Brahma, that the devotees are not interested in this material world where there's danger at every step. For them, the goal is parampadam, the spiritual world. And therefore, that is where they invest their desires and their heart and their life energy, is attaining that parampadam. Not in this paltry material energy, which is just a big bluff. It's a big bluff. You're going to be happy. My saying, you're going to be happy. Just get sense gratification. Come on, man. You're going to love it. It's going to give you what you want. But it's a bluff. It's cheating. It's a change-up. And you think, yes, I'm going to get the objects of my sense gratification. I'll be happy. But you get those objects, and lo and behold, you become completely miserable. Wow, what a ripoff. So that's what Maya does. Maya is the supreme ripoff artist. She entices us with the objects of the senses, and we're thinking, oh yeah, baby, this is it. I'm gonna be satisfied. I'm gonna be really happy. But the more we get, the less happy we become, and the more entangled we become. Prabhupada speaks of this, how the conditioned soul becomes entangled in the perplexities of Maya. And this applies to everyone, every man, every woman, every child, without exception. It's the plight of the conditioned soul. So this process of trying to enjoy the senses, it is doomed to failure. And it only leads one perpetually to birth and death, and repeated birth and another death, and repeated birth and death, samsara. And actually it's very sad. It's very tragic that the living entity becomes bewildered in this way and has to go through this samsara, life after life, being buffeted about by the modes and by the material energy and trying to enjoy and never becoming happy. Conversely, becoming filled with anxiety and dissatisfaction. And he becomes like, he gets to 3 H's. He's hopeless, he's helpless, and he's hapless. There was a song by Neil Young, helpless, 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 describing the plight of the living entity in human society. We're just helpless because Maya's controlling us like puppets on a string. Maya's pulling the strings, and we're doing all the stuff that we think we're the doer. Prakite kriyamanani, gunai karmani sarvashaha, ahankara vimudhatma, kartahamiti manyate. So this particular verse, presented by Lord Brahma about those who have taken shelter at the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the enemy of the Mura demon, they are not interested in this material world, which is full of dangers at every step, but they're interested only in parampadam, going back home, back to Krishna, back to the spiritual world. And the disciples of Srila Prabhupada provided this purport to that verse. I'll read a bit of it. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, this verse summarizes the knowledge presented in this section of the Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna's lotus feet are described as pallava, pallava plavam, flower buds because they are most tender and of a pinkish hue. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami, the word pallava indicates that Lord Krishna's lotus feet are just like desire trees, which can fulfill all the desires of the Lord's pure devotees. So it's not that when one becomes Krishna conscious, he becomes desireless. Like, the Mayavadis think, nirvashesha shunyavadi, nothingness. They want to become one with the nothingness. They want to become nothing. But you can't become nothing. Why? Because you're something. You're consciousness. And you're the spirit soul, who is part and parcel of Krishna. So how can you just dissolve into nothingness? That's foolishness. It's a fool's paradise. And it's further stated also in the 10th canto, Ye ne ravendaksha vimukti maninaha, that those who they perform severe austerities and penances, and they study Vedanta, they give up all attachment to sense gratification, and they think that they've become liberated. Vimukta manina. That means they become liberated in the mind. Factually liberated? No. Liberated in the mind? Oh yes. Yes, I'm thinking I'm liberated. So that is what? That's foolishness. That's illusion. Just like someone who's very insignificant and they're thinking, I am so great. I am so great, but why is it the world is not recognizing my greatness? What is wrong with the world? Certainly they must be in Maya. They must be an illusion because I am actually very wonderful. And in many cases, the foolish conditioned soul is thinking that actually I am God's gift to the universe. How can they not know? What is the matter with them? They are an illusion. So the puffed up conditioned soul thinks. There was one story about the devotees in the Philly temple in the early days. They're having arti, they're worshiping the deities, big kirtan. And this one Mayavadi pulls the temple president aside and says, I am very pleased with the way you are worshiping me. Thinking that it is him, I am God, that is being worshipped. I said, excuse me, sir, but we are not worshiping you. We are worshiping Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like, how is that? You're worshiping me? I am God. So, continue with this purport. Even exalted devotees like Sri Narada, who are themselves the great shelter for the conditioned souls in this universe, personally take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. Thus it is natural that when Lord Krishna manifested himself as all the young boys and calves of Vrindavan, after Lord Brahma stole them, their parents were more attracted to them than previously. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, and being all attractive, the ultimate object of everyone's love. So in our conditioned state, we don't see Krishna as the ultimate object of our love. We see the material energy which we want to enjoy, just like Lord Shiva wanted to enjoy Mohini Murti. He's seeing Krishna as the object of love, but he was seeing the illusory potency as the object of enjoyment. So seeing the manifestations of the material energy as the object of our enjoyment is a perversion of the real fact, which is that we are meant to have Krishna as the ultimate object of our love. And Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. So when we give our love to Krishna, then we experience that pleasure, which is not like temporary sense gratification. And you know how sense gratification is. You know, the young teenage boy, he gets a cigarette and he lights it up and starts to smoke it with his friends. And he's thinking, he's holding the cigarette, I am so cool. I am enjoying to the max, the maximum enjoyment, the coolness. And of course, meanwhile, the first time he smokes, he's coughing and it's like, this is nasty, but hey, that's cool. It's making me cool. But he continues smoking throughout his life. These Amazon guys, they don't know where to go. Just put the thing on the shoe rack. He keeps smoking throughout his life, and he's trying to recapture and relive that coolness of that first moment. There's one rock and roll song. Feels like the first time, feels like the very first time. Talking about, you know, the love of man for a woman. First love. Oh, it's so glorious.
Who's the artist?
That is a band called Foreigner. You know that song?
Yeah.
So actually, my good friend Purusharta, who lives in Alachua, he's a great bass player. His brother was the producer of that band. And this brother lost his life in a car wreck in Jamaica. And he was a very successful record producer. But because of that, Purusharta inherited a good bit of money, his fortune from the music business. Foreigner was a very big band in like the late 70s, early 80s, whatever.
They reunited for tour.
So his brother had made quite a bit of money, and Purusharta inherited that money, which really greatly enhanced his lifestyle. When he bought his house in Alachua, he paid cash, no mortgage. So anyway, that's Foreigner. But Foreigner is very dumb. Their lyrics are very dumb, mostly. You know, all about lust, mostly. Actually, one of their songs, I got 2 tickets to paradise. You know?
Not that was Eddie Money.
No.
No, he did it for the cover.
Yeah. So anyway, I digress. Don't pursue this line of questioning anymore. So the real pleasure potency comes from loving Krishna. And that taste, Vishaya vinivartante nirharasya dehina dasavarjam rasokasa param dristva nirvartate. That taste is superior to any material taste. But one has to give up one's attachment to the lower taste in order to experience the higher taste. That is like a principle of physics, you could say. So we are indeed attracted to the objects of the senses to try to enjoy them. And when Lord Shiva came to preach in the form of Shankaracharya in around the 9th century or so, He took sannyas at age 8, by the way. Pretty advanced, huh? 8 years old. What is an 8-year-old, you know? Third grader. Sannyas? No. But he wrote one very nice verse to help us and the other sannyasis and that were his followers to understand this attraction of the man for the woman. He said, Nadi stanam padam nabidesham visvama gamohavesham etan mangsa vashari vikaram manasi vichintaya bharam bharam. That nadi stana bhadanabidesham, seeing the weighty breasts of young women and their navels. He said, Drishvama gahamo avesham, do not fall prey to this maddening delusion. So he's bringing out the real goods here. We think, oh, Shankaracharya, he's a big Mayavadi, you know. But many wonderful teachings come from Shankaracharya, whose verses are quoted by Prabhupada. This verse is quoted by Prabhupada occasionally. Etang mangsa vasadi vikaram. These forms that you're seeing, the breasts of the woman, they are but modifications of flesh and fat. Like, oh, well, you come through the illusion now. Flesh and fat. Ooh, yucky, yucky, right? And then he says, Manasi vichintaya. Just think in your mind, contemplate the reality. Manasi vichintaya varam varam. And you know, it's interesting, we have heard from people in the medical profession who really truly are exposed to the realities of the disgusting nature of this material body. You know, they cut it open and they work on it, and it's all, you know, stinky and bacteria and blood and pus and mucus and fat and flesh. I mean, it's pretty nasty stuff, you know, but it's all nicely sealed up, and oh, it seems so pretty and so nice. I can enjoy it. But you would think that the doctors themselves would be self-realized from this experience. But according to the nurses who work in the profession, they're the worst tail chasers, the most rascal enjoyers at any cost, at any moment, at any place in time, in the maintenance closet or, something like that. When I was a young boy, we had this comedy record album that was a takeoff on Star Trek. So Captain Quirk, he comes upon an ensign, a male and female ensigns, and they're in the closet. He opens the closet and he says, "What are you doing in there?" And they say, "But Captain, we're engaged." And he says, "Well, disengage." The ship would go to work, so you say, "Engage." Well, disengage, untangle yourselves and get back to your duty. Even though that was 60 years ago, I still remember it like it was yesterday. We thought that was so funny. Disengage. So we want to engage our senses in enjoying the opposite sex. And Shankaracharya is saying, disengage. Don't fall for it. Manasi vichintaya varam varam. He says, reflect upon this in your mind. Think about this. Bharam, very seriously, again and again. Now, you might think, well, some sannyasi, he's thinking about the woman's breast again and again and again. He said, no, that's not the purport. Don't think about that again and again. But think about how it's a temporary manifestation of flesh and fat, again and again and again. Remember one devotee, he wanted to get married. And we were close friends. We traveled a lot in the van together for years, collecting zillions of dollars for the temple. And we knew each other quite well. And he said, frankly speaking, I'm a breast man. I'm really attracted to breasts. Talking about like wanting to get married. And I said, Prabhu, that is every man. Okay? That's not just you. Someone else has a foot fetish, or somebody who's really like into the elbows. Yeah, I don't think so. Who are you fooling? So, but Shankaracharya is so nice. This verse is so nice because Manasi Vichintaya, very seriously consider this. And Dristvama Gamohavesham, don't become entangled in the illusion. Because he's a great sannyasi, and his followers are sannyasis. And the real sannyasis, even the Mayavadi sannyasis, they give it up. They give it up because they want to taste the nectar of Brahman. But the happiness of Brahman is like a drop of water compared to the real happiness of the ocean of Krishna Prema. So all they taste is one little drop. But there's a whole ocean of happiness that awaits one who surrenders to Krishna. Therefore, in the let's see here, 9th chapter, text 13, Krishna explains this principle very nicely. Mahatmanas tumam partha, daivam prakatim ashritaha, vajantyanana manaso, gyatbabhutadim avyayam. That those who are Mahatmas, means the Maha means great, and Atma means soul. The great souls, the great devotees, Daivam Prakatim Ashritaha. Again, this word, just like we just read that verse from Lord Brahma. Samasrita ye padapalava plavam. Ashrita, those who are taking shelter. Daivam Prakatim Ashrita, of the transcendental potency or the internal potency of the Lord. Not this material energy. No. Daivim Prakatim, the spiritual potency of the Lord. Those are the great souls, and that's what they do. They take shelter of the internal potency of the Lord. So how do you take shelter of the internal potency of the Lord? He explains, Bhajantyananya manaso. They're constantly worshiping the Lord, the bhajan, ananya manaso, unlimitedly within the mind. They're taking shelter. Gyatva bhutadim avyam, because they know, gyatva, that bhutadim avyam, Krishna's spiritual transcendental nature is unlimited and unfathomable. And therefore, that's where they take shelter. So how do you do that? Who knows? Yes.
You have to chant the holy name.
That's exactly correct. That is exactly correct. You have to chant the Maha Mantra because we're used to hearing and chanting about so many things that are not Krishna-centered. But by specifically in this age, by chanting the holy name. And what is that verse? There's a verse that states, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Idi sodashakam nam nam, kali kamasa nashanam, nata parantayopaya, sarva vedeshu drishyate. That iti sodashakam means 16, these 16 names of the Hare Krishna mantra, kali kamasa nashanam, they destroy, nashanam, they destroy all the inauspicious and pernicious effects of Kali. Kali Kalmasa, all the inauspicious, nasty, fallen, dirty, inauspicious attributes of the Kali Yuga. Nashanam, they're destroyed by chanting the holy names. And Sarva Vedeshu Drishyate, after searching through all the Vedas, Nanta paratayopaya sarva veda. You cannot find sarva vedeshu drishyate. Sarva vedeshu, sarva veda, through all the Vedas, drishyate, looking through all the Vedas, you will not find a more effective method for destroying the ill effects of the Kali Yuga than chanting the holy names, specifically the Hare Krishna mantra in this case. It's not a generic verse, it's very specific about the Maha Mantra. So, as also stated in Bhagavatam, 12th canto, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan, that this age of Kali is dosha nidhe. It's an ocean of faults. So we know of the ocean of seawater, right? It's big. You ever go to the beach, to one of the great oceans, the Atlantic or the Pacific or the Gulf of Mexico, you look out, man, there's a lot of water. It's big. There's a lot of it. So this Kali Yuga, dosha nidhe, it's an ocean of faults. There's no water, just faults. How powerful is that? I'm hearing a lot of talking. Tell them, please. I saw something. A lot of talking. So, Kaler dosha nidhe rajan. Astye ko mahanguna, but despite the fact that it's an ocean of faults, Astye ko mahanguna, there's one mahaguna. Guna means quality. There's one great quality, mahaguna. Kirtana deva Krishnasya, simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna. Mukta Sangha Parambraja, one becomes Mukta Sangha, liberated from all bad association. And Parambraja, one goes back home, back to Godhead. Still talking. So, Mukta Sangha. Yeah, okay. So we want Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, but not bogus Sangha. We want to become Mukta Sangha, free from bad association. So, how does chanting Hare Krishna free you from bad association? Well, you're chanting Hare Krishna and all the bad association, they don't want to have anything to do with you. You came out, you shaved your head, you wear, well, the girls don't shave their head. You shave your head, you put on tilak, you know, you're wearing saffron. Like, no, nothing to do with that, man. So that's good, you become liberated. Just by becoming Krishna conscious, you automatically give up all bad association. You know, some devotee with shaved head, saffron, walk into a bar. It's like, man, dude, you're in the wrong place, okay? Don't come in here. You go out, you go somewhere, go to your temple and chant, will you? We're busy going to hell, and you got no business here. All right, so we'll stop here. Questions, comments, realizations? Yes, Chandrika.
So sometimes when a man is attracted to a woman, you know, as described.
Sometimes. All the time, all men.
So sometimes it's more like innocent, like an endorphin rush, you know, because you feel that attraction, that connection, maybe from the soul or like that. But
there's very little innocence.
Other times it can be more like an adrenaline rush where it's the attraction is there and they want to do some sort of assault, or it's sometimes even murder in many, many cases. And is it both of them a form of sense gratification, or just one more milder than the other?
Yeah, but murder is like a very mode of ignorance type of attraction. I want to lord it over the material nature. You kill somebody. You know, it's like guys go out hunting with their rifle to kill a deer. I want to hunt, I want to kill the deer. I remember I had this cousin. I'm going hunting, I'm going to kill a deer. You know, in the woods of Louisiana. It's like, You know, that is a very gross manifestation of wanting to lord it over the material energy, isn't it? Take someone's life,
Right.
and it's very sinful.
But it seems sometimes on the the murder side, they first had that attraction, the same attraction that the other one had, which is attraction.
Well, some are
to this
simply just
woman.
attracted to killing, serial killers. Lording it over the material nature, killing people. Yeah.
But I mean, if it's like sexual assault and then murder, so then they.
It's all the same thing. It's all part of the same program. That's horrible. It's just a really gross manifestation of that. A more subtle manifestation, man, once they get married, have children, nice house, enjoy life, get plenty of money and have a big car and everything, very good. All right, briefly.
You mentioned the Mura demon, for which Krishna has the name Murari. Do you have any more information about that pastime?
Not at fingertip.
Okay.
You can Google it.
Okay.
Google the Mura demon. See what you come up with.
All right, we're over.
All right, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.